Hey, singers, I'm so excited today because we have a really special guest. I'm really looking forward to having this conversation. And I want to introduce you to Renées Yoxon. Renee is a vocal coach who's been teaching voice for almost 2 decades. And Renee specializes in gender affirming voice care. It's a really valuable topic and super important. And so I'm excited to kind of dive in. Renee, welcome.
Hi, Whitney. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. I'm so glad you're here. I would love to just hear a little bit about your background and how you got into the work that you do. Can you tell our listeners and our watchers a little bit more about you?
Yeah, so as you said, I've been teaching singing for what feels like a very long time at this point. And at a certain point in my career, I decided to focus on teaching singing to trans people and or disabled people because I identify as both trans and disabled. And I did that because I just thought it would create like a better teaching experience for me. I wouldn't have to like explain these aspects of my identity to my students, but then also there are a lot of really wonderful singing teachers who can teach just like your typical student, but few who understand the challenges of trans people and disabled people. So I started focusing on that. And to do that, because traditionally those groups don't have a lot of like disposable income, I created a scholarship program called the Right to Sing Award, and I raised some money and I solicited for applications. And in doing that, a group in Montreal called Project 10 found me and asked if I could teach a gender affirming voice workshop. And I had never even heard of that before, but I was like, this is all my favorite things combined. So maybe I should learn. And so I kind of self-taught rather quickly, and then what we found in doing this workshop with them was that there was this like huge hole in service provision, especially like by and for trans people. So like there was some access to services through speech language pathology programs, but not like a voice teacher level, more exploratory option that's like less medical. And they kept sending me students. The next thing I knew, I had pivoted completely to gender affirming voice.
Oh, I love it. That's so awesome. And so, for our listeners and our watchers who might not be super familiar, can you give us a simple definition of what that means? What is gender affirming voice care?
Sure. So gender affirming voice care or voice work or voice feminization or masculinization or l'harmonisation de la voix, which we call it here in Montreal, is just creating a speaking voice that aligns with your gender presentation. So
Mm.
you could be creating a speaking voice that gives you gender euphoria, so the opposite of gender dysphoria, or you could be creating a speaking voice that elicits the reaction you want from strangers in the street and on the phone. And that might be through modifying all characteristics, some characteristics, a lot, a little. The process looks totally different for everybody.
I love that. That's so amazing. And I think it's just probably such a impactful thing to do, right?
Yes, because our voice is how we show up in the world. Sometimes first, if you're on like a phone call, for instance.
Yes. I mean, I say that all the time in some of my Love Your Voice course, just in that, like, our voice is so vulnerable to who we are, right? And oftentimes we don't even realize how issues that we are having, whether it's in our speaking voice or our singing voice or whether we're having cracks or like strain or losing, our voice in certain areas, how much that can feel like just so vulnerable and so painful, and just distracting from just being who we are and showing up in the world. So the work you do is fantastic.
100%.
I'm so
Thank you,
so happy
Whitney.
that you're out there. And also your YouTube channel is on fire. So everyone should just go
Aw.
check it out. I just recently did a warm up over there. So go check it out and make sure that you subscribe and follow. So I'd love, Renee, would you kind of walk us through, for those of us who maybe aren't familiar, what are some of the more unique or maybe overlapping challenges that trans singers and trans individuals face with their voice?
Oh, that's a really interesting question. Overlapping challenges.
Are there any, or are they more unique?
No, definitely there are overlapping challenges. And sometimes it's funny, I just recently did a workshop for like a queer and trans group in Manitoba who were asking about like gender affirming singing. And for gender affirming singing, it's a little bit different from gender affirming speech because we have like certain codes and norms of speech that reflect gender. But in singing, there's so much more color. And so I think like what cis singers and trans singers have in common is we all are looking to find a voice that reflects who we are and like what kind of music we want to make or what kind of person we want to be, depending on if you're singing or speaking. Uh, and it's like such a huge process of discovery. And I think a lot of gender affirming voice, gender, say this 10 times fast. Gender affirming speech voice practitioners are like not always sure of their goal, right?
Yeah.
Where like you try something and you see if it's right for you. It's like trying on different clothes and hairstyles or makeup or whatever. It's like, okay, I did this for a month and it's like not quite feeling right like me, so maybe I'll try a different thing. And that process is sometimes frustrating, sometimes beautiful and exploratory, but I think even if you end up right back where you started, it's a worthwhile process.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the reason we connected was because we both appreciate Strawnation and the singing straw and how it can help support singers and trans singers in their journey, right? So, and I love that the universe connected us that way. So, can you talk a little bit about maybe how you use singing straw and Strawnation, or how that can support gender affirming care for trans singers and trans speakers?
Absolutely. I made a whole video on Strawnation if people want to check that out, which is how we met. But I love Strawnation because this is maybe kind of niche, but a lot of my students, they're maybe not out or they don't feel comfortable like practicing or warming up like at full volume. And Strawnation is so quiet. They can do it anywhere. Yeah. I used to take my little straw to the park and just nobody noticed that I was warming up. So it's one of my favorite things to suggest to students because it's so discreet and it's so effective. It's like actually more effective than being like full volume for the speakers anyway.
Yeah, it so is. That's so true. Not only is it discreet and easy, but like it's crazy how, Strawnation can actually help optimize and change the way those vocal folds are coming together, which when you're looking at, any sort of like singer and speaker, just voice function is we're looking at laying a healthy foundation. And then we can explore all of the different ways to express our voice and what costs more and what costs less from like a tissue perspective, right? Or like a fatigue perspective. So it's all about exploring that and laying a healthy foundation. I just love how the singing straw is able to kind of play a role there. I just think it's really powerful. So this is a great opportunity to mention that we're going to be doing a special offer. So a discount, I'm going to link below for a special discount that we're doing for Pride Month. And so if you're interested in trying out the singing straw, if you haven't tried it before, definitely check out Renée's channel and the Strawnation video that you did. And then the voice feminization workout warm up that we just did. I'll drop a couple of links for that. And feel free to check out the singing straw and see how it feels in your voice. So,
and maybe I could also mention my courses are actually on sale for Pride as well, 30% off. Yes. So double sale.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, and we'll have links to all of that below. So thank you so much, Renée, for being here and for just helping spread the word. I know it feels like Strawnation can be niche and gender affirming voice care might be niche, but honestly, the more that people understand about all of these things, the better, I think. So
absolutely, 100%.
Thank you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.